mean, I relate that to, like, for example, living on the Big Island in Hawaii. You must become one with the elements because some storm or something is always going to come and break something. It's just how it is there. And a lot of people can't handle it. They think they're going to move to Hawaii. They have all this money. I'm going to live in Hawaii like a king. And they can't handle just the fact that they can't control Mother Nature.
Yeah.
They can't control it and they leave. It's very similar lesson to be learned going to live in a country like this. And things are different. You can't control it. Don't hold on to it. It's going to be stressful.
Jordan, last time I saw you, I think it was at the halving party, and you were on the other end of the camera
Yeah.
filming while your partner Michael was interviewing me. So it's fun to have you here in the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Have you guys recovered from the retreat that you did?
We're just about there. We're just about settling into our routine again, upgrading our systems. We're figuring out how to do another retreat without burning out, which almost happened. But yeah, we've recovered.
When I think we had Michael in here, it was, I don't know, a little over a month ago. And you could tell he was like excited, but all I'm seeing in my mind, I had a food business, so we did big events, and all I could see was all the logistics that you guys were going to have to go through. And he was super excited. I hope I wasn't a downer on them that day, because I was like, oh man, I'm glad, better you than me, because that's going to be overwhelming trying to put all that stuff together. But you guys pulled it off.
We pulled it off. The whole event was definitely a reality check, to your point. But, the team built along the way. So many people wanted to support the effort. So many people wanted to be part of it. People got, like, my wife just got pulled into it. She helped us get a sponsor for the party, like for the meal. And it went exceedingly well. We just enjoyed ourselves that whole time. Nothing went wrong. Nothing went awry. It was fantastic.
And you guys were sold out, right?
We sold it out and beyond. Yeah, we had overflow. We had to get the hotel rooms next door.
Really? So how many people did you guys have total?
I think one person ended up dropping out. I think we had 22 guests.
Wow.
Plus our team of like 5, 6. Yeah.
You definitely don't want it any bigger than that, because then you lose kind of the intimacy of that type of group, and just the value that comes with that, and just the logistics of trying to get everybody fed and moved and
everything about
Yeah.
it. We're shooting for 18 for this next one. We do think having a good amount of people is important, simply for the fact that what this retreat demonstrated to us, which we didn't know was going to happen.
Hey guys, just a brief interruption. We'll get back to the exciting show here, but I just want to really ask a favor, that you guys could make sure that you're subscribed if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please take a second and review this. You don't even have to write a lengthy review or anything at all. Just click the number of stars that you want to give us. It really helps us in the algorithms to make sure people are finding out about what's happening here. All right, back to the show.
Is how many sovereign-minded individuals are out there looking to come be with other sovereign-minded individuals. And El Salvador is like the hub for that right now. Everyone coming here to see what's next. Like, how can we build a new life here? How can we participate in something? And so the more people you have, that community feel, it's like everywhere you turn, you have a new conversation you can have with someone else. So if you have too few people, you might get bored, but if you have just enough, which I think we did, I think around 20s, 18 to 23 is probably the hot spot. It's a really great experience.
No, and just what a wonderful opportunity for them. I'm sure a lot of these people had been thinking about coming to El Salvador for a long time, but had this like, okay, well, what do I do? Am I just going to show up, and how will I meet people, and where will I stay? And so to have this kind of white glove service and package put together for them, I'm sure a lot of them probably wouldn't have come otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is trying to solve the problem Michael and I had faced almost a year ago now. It's like, well, for me, like 2 years, 3 years. I was like, how do I go to El Salvador? Like, I'm interested in El Salvador. I have a certain skill set. I have things I want to do. I see what's happening in the United States, or the West, as they call it. I have young kids. I want to make sure they have roots in a place with a more hopeful future. But I had no idea even where to get started. And I was an experienced traveler, right? I had gone all over the world with no itinerary, no idea what was going to happen from the airport. I've done it before. I never did it with kids. But when I came to El Salvador with the specific intention that, hey, I want to see if I want to live here. I don't want to just go and backpack, go to the hostels and kind of just like see what happens. No, I want to go get involved.
Yeah.
And so Michael and I started that journey back in December. And then this summer it kind of hit us like, wait a minute, what a great problem we can solve for people. Hey, here's how you can come get started in El Salvador. Come meet the people we know, come see the sites, come just see the lay of the land. And that's what this retreat offers.
Well, I know you guys put a video together, so I'll have Paco put that up just so the viewers can get an idea. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, you might want to get on the YouTube channel to see it.
To have a taste of El Salvador.
It's exceeded all my expectations. I mean, it's been fantastic.
Just a delightful and joyful experience.
I don't want to leave. That's number one. First thing that comes to mind, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here forever. I'm walking away richer out of these 4 days, and I'm walking away knowing that there's a family here in El Salvador anytime I want to come back.
I think this is the only way to do it. For your first trip, only way to do it.
I would definitely recommend people coming here, absolutely, if they want to see what's going on in El Salvador, or if they just want to have an awesome time.
This retreat has really blown me away. It has been an amazing experience. I have enjoyed every single part of it.
These excursions were wonderful. We went to the historical center where we saw the palace. It was beautiful. We went to a lake. It's a volcano crater that we went to, and there's all water in there. You could take a ferry around that area. We went to Bitcoin Beach, the historic El Zonte zone where Bitcoin was first used. It was wonderful, very educational.
I think the term is, what is it, white glove? That's the term. We're being white gloved around. Now I know what that feels like.
I never thought I would have an experience like this. If you want to spend your money wisely and you want to have an efficient experience, there's no question in my mind.
You know, I think it was a good gathering for all of us all over the world to come here.
I recommend this to everybody. Everybody needs to come at least experience this retreat.
I would absolutely recommend that folks that are interested in El Salvador, interested in the Bitcoin aspect, whatever you're interested in, I think you could come here and in a very short amount of time you could get a very high degree of information. You can get a sense of the opportunities that are here. You can get a sense of the sort of newfound stability that's in the country, and you can get a sense of the unlimited opportunities that I think and we all hope are going to carry El Salvador into the future.
So I'm surprised that looking at that video, it's a very diverse audience that you guys had that showed up. So it looks like all age ranges. It looks like probably several different countries. What was the experience on the ground? What were the people have a lot in common? Were they very different? What was?
You know, it's really funny. I'm watching that just now. I realized, like, yeah, wow, it's such a diverse group of people. But really, at the end of the day, everyone was still unified by this similar mindset, shared beliefs, shared values, which is kind of what kept the whole thing rolling. And we did not expect so many people in that certain age group to want to come down to El Salvador and see what's next. But you'd be surprised, these people, I guess you call them boomers, or like older people that actually are legitimately interested in coming in to move down here.
Yeah, no, it looked like a lot of them were Gen X or boomer generation.
Yeah.
That you know, I would have thought it would have been a little bit of a younger group, but it's
it kind of like destroyed a lot of stereotypes I had in my mind, to be honest, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, it was a very diverse group of people, and everyone was, like I said, just unified by Bitcoin first and foremost, and just these values and ideals. But also what's interesting about the Bitcoin is kind of secondary to everything we do. It's kind of like, it's part of our foundation. Yeah. Bitcoin is built into everything we do. We don't talk about it much. We just, it's just there. It's Bitcoin. We're Bitcoiners. We believe in it. We're part of the cult, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of these people that came, they're into Bitcoin and they know it's super important, and they respect Bukele for, adopting Bitcoin, but they weren't as knowledgeable as they need to be. Several people learned how to self-custody on this trip, thanks to Ronnie at the hardware store.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we didn't realize that could be another reason people want to come, is they want to learn more about Bitcoin. We had Eric V. Stacks there, and he hosted an impromptu little mastermind workshop, and people got to ask questions, and we're like, wow, we didn't even think about this. Like, people actually want to learn more about Bitcoin, not just about El Salvador.
Well, and there's a lot of people that, I understand the importance of Bitcoin in theory, but they're not really using it in their lives, or maybe they haven't even purchased any, or if they have, it's just on Coinbase or something like that, and they
Exactly.
don't realize the dangers that lie in of not self-custodying. So I
And
think
then realizing that not everyone's listening to Bitcoin podcasts all the time, and on Bitcoin Twitter, and just deep down the rabbit hole.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for most of the people that came, how did they come across what you guys were doing? What was the impetus for them? Were they looking to come here anyways, or was it, hey, there's this unique opportunity that's popped up, let's jump in? Were there families that came, or was it mostly singles or couples, or was all the above?
Well, so we were, contrary to what you're supposed to do in entrepreneurship, we threw a very broad net. We cast a wide net. We were like, whoever wants to come, come on. Normally, you're supposed to choose a certain age range, a certain demographic, and really know your avatar. And we just didn't do that because we're like, we don't know. We want to see who wants to come and come on down. And it turns out that avatar is really about the mindset that everyone shared. But so there were quite a few couples that came of all ages. And that was great. I think that's almost like the best experience. You get to share that with someone. There were quite a few people that came on their own. There was one family, that was Eric's family. The venue is not very child friendly. So we actually discouraged.
It's right on a cliff there. It looks
Yeah.
Beautiful, but I could see it not being very child friendly.
Yeah. So we, my kids and my wife were there for, in and out.
Yeah.
But as far as the general retreat went, it's, not the most family friendly thing. We are going to host more in the future that are more geared towards families because with my own situation, I was like, El Salvador, great, but how can I move down there? What do I do about the kids, schools? Is it safe? All these questions. So we want to help answer those questions for people in real time. Come experience it. Don't just read it or watch it on a video. Come feel it out. So yeah, lots of age groups. What was the other question?
Just how did everybody gel together? I'm just curious as to what the sense of as the group.
There were always little conversations going on, different pockets of conversations. Everyone gelled together great. We went on an excursion every day. So the first day we went to the, El Centro to see the new library, the National Palace, to see the cathedral, to have lunch. And, everyone just ends up walking with a different person in the next stretch. And that was really cool to just see, once again, people from different age groups connecting and talking and teaching each other about Bitcoin or about something about real estate. A lot of the people that came from the older generation were very much into real estate investment and what they could do here. So having those conversations. Mm-hmm. The next day we went to Zonte, and so plenty of conversations there too. We went, had lunch, everyone's sitting with new people, always new conversations coming around. And once again, when you're coming with someone, it's like you kind of have that partner to fall back on if,
I always love going to conferences with my wife because I'm more of an introvert. So if I have my wife there, she's like my safety blanket.
Yeah.
But so I could see that. It's nice to have somebody there with you.
Yeah, but we also had solo travelers, solo guys here on this trip. Like my friend Tommy came all alone, and he was just a little social butterfly. He must have had multiple conversations with every single person, and so that kind of personality, having that around, was really great too. It makes everyone feel better. And,
no, you definitely need those people in the mix.
Yeah,
they're the ones that bring everybody together.
Yeah, and Michael plays that role too.
Yeah, no, he's great at that. How did most people hear about it? Was it like they were already planning on coming? And
no,
okay,
we were so surprised because we started marketing this less than 6 weeks out, and normally you would think, oh, I got to buy tickets, I got to clear my schedule. I need a few months in advance. We proved that people are ready to come to El Salvador, and so we got very fortunate. Max and Stacy wanted to be part of it. They were like, wow, we love what you're doing. Sign us up. We want to come talk. So they came, we had a launch party in the middle of the retreat, and they came and put on a 45-minute little, I call it a show. I guess you'd call it a talk or, but
Max is a performer.
Yeah,
for sure.
He 100%. He's great. And so they came. That was a big perk for people wanting to come. And then also they would retweet it all the time. So there was that. Michael has a decent following of people that are really into his ideas and what he talks about. So there were people from there. And then you, Mike, Michael came on this podcast, and we got so many calls booked after that because I think your audience has a lot of trust with you. You've built a lot of trust over the years. So
well, and it makes sense. I think a lot of them are thinking about El Salvador.
Bitcoin Beach podcast.
So that's why they're watching. So
yeah. But yeah, so we sold this thing out and beyond in with 3 weeks to spare. People were ready to come. People booked their flights. They figured it out, and they were here, ready to go.
So what was the biggest thing that you surprise, good or bad, that you had not anticipated that you just got slammed by? That was.
Well, the easiest answer to that question, the biggest surprise, which is also kind of a negative way of looking at it, was that nothing went wrong. Everything went so perfectly, especially when you're in a new country, you're in a new place. We've only been here 3 months, less than 2 months when we were planning this retreat, still building our network, meeting vendors, and not a single thing went wrong. And that's thanks to the many people that helped us out. We hosted this at the Bitcoin Mansion. Their staff was fantastic. They had a network of people already of who to call on for entertainment, for food vendors, chefs, security, things like that. But everything went without a single hitch. And so I would say that was probably my biggest surprise.
And the Bitcoin Mansion is something that other people can rent out, right? That's
it's on Airbnb.
It's
available for events. Yeah.
So shout out to them if people are looking for a place to rent out. Look like a very lovely place.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And it really gives you that experience. Like you're in the tropics. It's kind of like this Greek architecture style. They call it a mansion. It's really a bunch of bungalows on this really gorgeous landscape property. Beautiful pool, saltwater pool. But you feel like you're in luxury. And all the guests just had nothing but amazing things to say about it. And you hear the waves crashing all day. You're going to sleep with it. We had to use a microphone to talk to everyone because the waves are so loud. But it's really, really great experience there.
So did you have any people that came down for that wound up canceling their return flights?
We had, unfortunately, no. But we did have someone that's going to come back to work on our team, to be on our team for a trial period. And I think a few others that are also planning on coming back now. I know for certain people were thinking of going to adopting Bitcoin in November. They came to this retreat to scope things out first, and now they're 100% coming back in November.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So any of them looking to purchase stuff down here or come up with business ideas? Or I know that it's early for a lot of them, especially if it's their first time being here, but just kind of curious as to what you saw developing.
Well, off the top of my head, I would say at least 50% of the attendees are ready to put their money into something down here. So we had a real estate workshop hosted by the Bitcoin Mansion guys because they have a development down in Punta Mango. And they're working on something. And we had our friend Will come. He's a broker. And so people got to ask questions like, how's real estate work down here? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin Mansion guys have a really funny story about, there's no escrow here.
Yeah.
So they had a great story about their situation and purchasing, and the price went up after they paid their deposit. Like, the appraisal came in, and actually it's going to cost you another $400,000. And we have another buyer. So they either had to pay the extra $400,000 or not. And they had already put the deposit down. So little anecdotes like that, which are important to learn about before you can put your money into something. There was at least one person with a startup he wanted to bring down here. It was still in the early incubation phases, and he's like, it's not too ingrained in American bureaucracy yet, so I could theoretically come start it down here, and that was a big reason why he came. So it's really cool to see the different reasons people are interested in coming down here. But definitely, I would say most people that came on that retreat are ready to come build in El Salvador.
I love it. I love it. And so we have the hat there. I don't know if we can focus in on that.
Yeah, I'm shamelessly plugging it with the hat, but it's also a really cool hat.
Yeah.
So,
no, I love that hat. The colors all work really well together.
I'll make sure to get you one.
All right. Yeah. Perfect. Well, I want to hear your story because, it's one thing to move down here as, a single guy, but it's another thing to bring your wife and kids down here. So I would love to hear what led up to that. I believe you guys were living in Hawaii before that, and so give us a little bit of the backstory of how it wound up being that you were open to it, and then what your wife's thoughts were. Your kids, I think, are pretty young, so they probably didn't have much of an opinion, but would want to hear how their transition's been. So
yeah, well, I mean, just long story short, my whole life leading into becoming a family man was just traveling. I was a backpacker. I just vagabonded around. I've been to over 50 countries, learned, 4 languages. That's just what I did with no money. And then obviously learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency throughout a few different bull markets helped me get by. But 2019, I met my now wife in Argentina. She's Argentine. We met in Buenos Aires, and we were like, okay, cool. We got pregnant, and where are we gonna live? So we went to Peru. She was 5 months pregnant. We're in the Amazon, going around on the tuk-tuks. And we explored around, and we just decided we're going to go camp out with my parents for a little while to get our grounding in LA area. So we went back to Argentina to get her fiance visa, and then COVID hit. So we were locked down in Argentina all of 2020. The embassies were closed. We couldn't get passports, visas, nothing. So we ended up living there for a year.
In Buenos Aires?
In Cordoba,
okay,
which is where she was from. Yeah, she had been living there before when we met. So we were in Argentina, and without getting too deep into it, that was a very deep process for me because I had lived a life of utter and complete freedom before that. I could go anywhere in the world I wanted with my American passport, with my credit card. I was completely free to do whatever I wanted to an extent. And suddenly I couldn't even leave town because of police checkpoints. And people were complaining about the lockdowns in the United States. I'm like, go to Latin America, where they actually know, like historically, culturally, they know what it's like. Argentina had a dictatorship in the 80s, right? So like people disappeared. Tens of thousands of people disappeared during that time. So they're very used to government, control coming in when it decides to. So during that time, it was really deep introspective process for me to just surrender, be like, okay, I can't control this now. What can I control? I can control trying to be the best father I can, trying to be the best provider for my family. And that's kind of what started me on the path of being an entrepreneur, like a serious entrepreneur. Before that, I'd started charities and things like that, but it was really just so I could do what I wanted to do and, be selfish about my life. So we finally made it to California in 2021, and we realized quickly, well, that's not going to work. That was in the height of vaccine craze and all of that, and the culture there was just very toxic. So I had always been really attracted to the big island of Hawaii. The culture there is very sovereign-minded in a very different way than here, but very sovereign-minded in the sense that, hey, let's grow our own food. Let's help each other out in community. Let's go have a drum circle every Sunday. Let's just enjoy life. And that's kind of what the Hawaiian Islands always were before capitalism came. It's just people just enjoy life. The land is providing for you everything you need. It's like here. There's mangoes everywhere. There's cocos everywhere. There's fish. It's not that hard to survive with very little work, and you can just enjoy life. So we were like, let's go do that. So the bull market came. I pretty much sold all of my Bitcoin because I was like, hey, what's more important, holding Bitcoin or creating a life for my children's future? And at that time, building a house, building a homestead, we caught all our water. Everything was solar power. We're growing all kinds of fruit trees, had a garden. We had bees for honey. We had chickens. And I was like, cool, this is it. What else do I need to accomplish now, right? We can do everything on our own. I can get out of the system, and that's it. So we moved there in 2022, and there's just a lot I didn't realize about life and about fatherhood and about being a husband, that living in a little tiny house, living that way just wasn't compatible with optimizing, I guess. So we ended up leaving. We ended up needing to leave. We left kind of on a dime to go visit Argentina, and we just never went back. So now it's being rented out. But while we were gone, Michael and I were working together online, making content, and I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now. We're visiting family, Argentina, California, but I know I need to figure something out, and it's not working for my family in Hawaii. You want to go visit El Salvador with me? And Michael's like,
I'm
whoa.
curious, in Hawaii, was it just too isolating? Like, what was, not to pry into your family details, but just kind of curious as on broad strokes, what was
two main things. One of them was mine, one of them was my wife's. So I guess if you dole out responsibilities of a household, this area of Hawaii is volcanic Hawaii, so it's raw, it's paradise. There's no hotels, there's nothing, because you can't get insurance to build anything there, because it's all active lava zones. So you go along this highway along the coast for miles and miles, and there's nothing but little houses.
Is that on the main island or what?
The Big Island,
the Big Island,
which is Hawaii. It's not the same as Honolulu.
Yeah.
People get that confused. So it's very rural, tropical, and wild, I would say, which is why I was attracted to it. It's very raw. And
because I think the Big Island's one of the least densely populated.
Yeah, and there's active volcanoes there. There's military bases, and it's a really beautiful place. I mean, I still miss it in that sense. But economically, it was very difficult. Like I said, I'd sold all my Bitcoin. I didn't develop my business online yet. I had no passive income. I had nothing. So scraping by off little odd jobs as a videographer, as someone who does digital things, was just very difficult because no one has money. No one has money there. And then that also cultivated a mindset of just scarcity and poverty. And everyone's on EBT. We got onto EBT for a while, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not where I saw my life ending up. Like getting help from the state to eat, this is not how I'm gonna let my kids. So that was on my end, was realizing that, okay, I gotta just surrender my ego here. We're not ready to live this way. As great as it is to grow food, you still need money in this world to get by, to pay the internet bill, things like that. The second part was we lived in a really tiny house. Oh, no dryer. We had a washer, but no dryer. We're all on solar power. And it was just a lot for my wife to handle, just domestic things, like doing the laundry.
With a new baby.
Our baby was 4 months old when we moved there, and our other one was 2.5. And it was just crazy. And then even the preschool was only 3 days a week. So we couldn't even like do that, for enough time to work and get responsibilities done. And then it's the United States, so to hire a babysitter is like, $25 an hour or something, someone you can trust. And everything was just like, I don't want to say falling apart, because in a lot of ways it felt really good. And we're such a tight-knit family thanks to that experience. Like we really close with the kids all together. But the challenges were just very stressful in that regard, and that was starting to create friction and eat at us. And so that's when we kind of had to have the hard talk. Like, okay, maybe we invested everything into something that doesn't have a long-term future for us, at least in this moment. So we got out of there. And for years, I'd been looking at El Salvador, and I thought, there's something going on there, obviously, Bitcoin, and then you see the gang cleanup, and then I would see Max Kaiser. It was something like, there was a video of him with the cops or something. It was years ago. And it was just like a raw video of them having a good time with the cops after they pulled him over or something. And I was like, you know what? It would be awesome to go be Max Kaiser's behind-the-scenes videographer. Because that's what I had done in my years of travel. I would just make guerrilla films, like behind-the-scene little documentations of people. And I thought, what a cool thing that would be. And Max is a performer. Max is, And so I had this kind of dream, but I didn't even know where to start. I didn't even have a brand on Twitter yet, right? How do I even begin doing that? So it kind of just got filed away under dreams. But time passed. There was this opportunity. I'm like, where are we going to live? We're not staying in California. We're not going to live in Argentina. What are we going to do? So I was like, Michael, we'd been hanging out online. We'd been working on doing videos together. It's like, why don't we go meet up in El Salvador? And he hadn't traveled in years, since before COVID. And, it took a little nudging, but we did it. We came down here and we had a magical time. And that first trip, we did come as tourists with the intention of scoping it out, seeing. And a lot happened. We made a lot of content on that first trip, and it was eye-opening, because there's something in the air here that's very magical, and I can only attribute it to hope and optimism for the future.
100%. That's when you try to describe it to people. It's like you have to be here and feel it, but it is palatable. It's like something in the air.
I spent a lot of time outside of the United States in my 20s, because every time I came back, I would feel just like this dark cloud of fear and whatever, and it would swallow me up. And I'm generally a really positive person, optimistic, hopeful. And then I would come back to the States, and I'd be there for a few weeks, and suddenly I'd just be like, oh, all my dreams and ambitions are gone. So whatever the source of all that is, it's something, metaphysical. But you come here to El Salvador, and same with Argentina. You go there, and everyone's just like, beat down because of everything that's gone down there with inflation, economy, everything. And so you come here at this time, a year ago when we came, and people are just excited. And that first trip, we hardly interacted with any Bitcoiners. In fact, we didn't interact with any Bitcoiners. We didn't go to a single meetup. We only did tourist things and hung out with restaurant owners and hotel owners and asked them their questions, interviewed them. And we thought the story was going to be Bitcoin. Oh, we love El Salvador and Bukele because of Bitcoin. No one even knew about Bitcoin. Everyone was able to live their lives freely for the first time in however many decades. And that was the story, realizing that we were interviewing a restaurant down the street here, the owner of this restaurant, and she was like, I can go outside after dark now without fear. I can park my car on the street now. My kids can play outside now. And like, it makes me tear up just thinking about it. It's like, I can't even imagine living that way. And these people had dealt with that for decades. Just this feeling of like your human rights are gone, your freedom is gone. And to have that weight lifted and suddenly you're just able to live and like we went to El Tunco that first trip and I was so shocked because here we are at this beautiful beach destination and the majority, like 98% of the people we see are all Salvadorians having fun, drinking beer at the restaurant, surfing. You know, you go to India, you go to Thailand, you go to Costa Rica, it's all just gringos for long. It's white people pretty much. Like the tourism industry has taken over so much of the world because of whatever we want to say about the fiat paradigm and how we have money and access to credit, whatever it is. But we're here in El Salvador and El Tunco, and it's all local people enjoying themselves. I'm like, this is something special here.
Yeah, that's one of the unique things about El Salvador, especially like on the beaches and stuff. It's always been driven more by local consumers, and the tourism has definitely increased, and it's helping a ton of the local people. It's helping them expand businesses. It's doing great things, but it's great because it has that underlying just local tourism, and so it's not like one or the other. It's this great mix of folks.
And I really hope it stays that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I would say is definitely a concern of mine, just because I've seen it happen in other places. I mean, when I started traveling, 2009, 2010, I went to Costa Rica for the first time in 2008. And I don't even want to go back because I don't even want to see what the difference is now, right? You know, I was in like Nepal, before the earthquake in 2015, and you could see the change happening. And then you go other places where the tourism is already more developed, and you kind of can start comparing it to these other places where it's not so developed. And you start to like, wow, this is what happens when investment money pours in, when they build big, condo buildings. Like this is kind of what happens, and it destroys a lot of the beauty.
It does. It definitely does. I mean, I think on the other side, having lived here for 20 years and seen just the desperate poverty and the people with lack of opportunity, now I prefer things to be more small village, but you can be idealistic about that when you're earning dollars and you have access to resources. But when you see these other people that are having to leave their families behind, go to the U.S. illegally, just to be able to put food on the table or join the gangs, it's, I think I have a kind of more nuanced view of, yeah, maybe it's not great for me, but in general, it's definitely when development happens, people's lives improve and they are able to now have the same opportunities that I have.
Yeah, and I hope that continues on that trajectory in that way, because I would say in places I've seen, their lives didn't improve. All these big ugly buildings get put in, this and that, but like no one's, if anything, the wealth disparity just got bigger. So I've heard you talk about this on the show, and like with Murph, with Aaron, and how teach a man to fish. And like I think the anecdote you used was how people here. Someone was saying, well, they're still living in a shack. We're like, yeah, but now they have a business. Now they have hope.
Yeah.
Now they know that they can make money, and if they work hard, they can make more money.
Kids are going to a private school instead of the failing public school.
Yeah.
And even the public schools are getting better at the same time. So it's a combination of these things. It doesn't happen overnight, but for them, this is life changing.
So in my view, I think this is unique to El Salvador, and I pray that it stays on this path. So even this development coming in, as long as people's lives are still improving, great.
Yeah.
But when it starts to slide the other way and it's just all about improving the return for the investors or something, that's when we have a problem.
No, definitely. And I feel like the government here has that's a very complicated thing to manage, but I feel like they have a good grasp on, hey, it's very important to drive investment, to bring in outside intellectual and financial capital, but also we need to make sure that this is all to improve the lives of the local people. And so I see them kind of like take this step this way and then shift this way, and you can tell they're always trying to hold that in tension in the way that's going to best benefit the country in the long run.
And we got to give credit where credit's due for that, because most governments would not.
Oh yeah, no, and especially in El Salvador. I mean, just having been here for so long, I mean, it was pretty much you tried to get in power to be able to loot the government and enrich all your friends, and that's why, I think it's like 3 of the past presidents were either in jail or died while they were supposed to be in jail, and one of them is hiding out in Nicaragua, and I mean, I think he was the one that literally left the country with black trash bags full of cash, like looted from the central bank. So,
yeah, Michael and I talk about this on the podcast kind of often, and that's how El Salvador also has this other side of the development coin, which is Bitcoin. The other side of the development Bitcoin, where we're also building different ways of moving towards the future. Not just with money, but everything that comes with that. So we just made a video with Fabian from Illuminodes. They're working on sovereign health identity with hospitals here. So you don't have to let your health data leak to this whole $3 trillion industry. You can just keep it with you and your doctor. Things like that, where it's like, whoa. So we have the fiat paradigm development trajectory, but then we're also, the Bitcoiners are in the background going like, all right, let's build this new future. And like I was telling you earlier, we're working on building what I guess could be called a DAO as Sovereignty Studios, because there's a framework here in this jurisdiction for actually using this technology to build collectively oriented companies. So it's not just about competition, but it's about how can we build something where anyone who participates is enriched in an equal way. And so this is a fertile ground for cultivating things like that.
No, definitely. Well, I want to hear how your guys' transition has been. We started on that and we got off into everything else as we usually do.
Non-linear story.
But want to hear how the transition has been for your wife and kids moving here in El Salvador. Is she as excited about it as you are? How has it compared to your experience in Hawaii? What has it been like for your kids? What resources, as you your kids are just entering that age where they're going to need schooling and those sorts of things. What are you guys thinking about that?
Well, I've been blown away with the ease at moving here, especially with 2 young kids. We found a school that's part of, I guess you'd call it a chain, not really, but it's called Acton Academy, Montessori style. They have a bunch in Texas. They have one in Guatemala, and they have one here. And they really focus on these freedom values in their kids. And they even focus, help you learn the technology, spreadsheets, become an entrepreneur. Obviously not for my 4-year-old.
We had the owner on here for
cool.
the podcast before.
Yeah. So, I mean, we found that place. I couldn't even find something like this in the States if I wanted to, or at least where we were in the States. And the price is very reasonable. And all it takes is, driving through. It's not even we live in this one part of town where in the morning the traffic isn't even that bad. Imagine that, living by San Salvador, and we don't even have to deal with that bad of traffic for that morning drive. So that's been remarkably easy. And then we found a woman to come help us around the house. We pay her more than they're normally paid, and she's amazing. And she loves the kids. The kids love her. The kids are learning Spanish better with her than at school. And so that has alleviated a lot of the stress for my wife, because there's a lot of laundry to do when you got 2 young kids that like to make huge messes. Things along those lines where it's just now my wife feels more free to start pursuing the things that she hasn't been able to pursue in 5 years since becoming a mother. So that might not sound like a very big deal for some people, but for us it was huge, because essentially she hasn't had her own life to herself as a mother for 5 years with all the responsibilities that come with it. So we're really grateful for that aspect of it. We found a neighborhood that we live on a flat street, so the kids can go out and ride scooters and bikes. There's a dozen kids in the neighborhood at least, their age, and there's a little park, and every afternoon all the kids go to the park. I wasn't getting that in Hawaii. I'm not getting that in California. So the kids have their own little community and they have friends, and then the moms have their little group of moms. There's so much here that we weren't getting anywhere else. Things like that community aspect of it, we didn't really even think about.
Yeah.
We were thinking more okay, let's go to a forward-thinking jurisdiction where, we don't think they're going to steal our Bitcoin one day if if things go south. But instead, we're getting all these benefits all over the place that just feel really great. We feel so comfortable, settled. The kids, Acton is a bilingual school. So I don't know if they're learning Spanish as quickly as they could be, but they are learning Spanish and they're getting more comfortable with it. And so,
Well, and they're so young, they're going to learn anyways. And I'm assuming your wife's first language is Spanish.
yeah, but she does. Yeah, she never, because we were living so much in the States
Okay.
and being around, she never spoke Spanish to them. So we're reverting back to that finally. Yeah.
So was finding a home challenging, or was the process pretty easy and straightforward? I mean, these are the questions people always ask, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit out of the loop because I've been here for so long, and so everything just seems easy to me because you have friends, you have connections, and so that's why I'm always curious to hear from people that have come in recently what their experience is like.
Yeah. So on my second trip here, I met up with Michael. I think that's when I met you at the having party. I think that was just my second trip here. Yeah. We started looking at real estate back then. So at the end of March, early April, we started taking tours. Michael and I were like, okay, let's start figuring out how we can move here and do something because there's a lot of potential. And so we started taking tours, making real estate videos with some realtors and seeing the lay of the land, seeing what's possible. We realized early on that right now living by the beach wasn't optimal. It's really hot. And we wanted to, build a studio, which you got the nice setup here for sure. But so we realized we wanted to live near the city, but not in the city, et cetera, et cetera. And it took the next trip. So my third trip here, we found this one area. And my wife came on that trip because I was like, okay, I want to make sure you want to go live in El Salvador.
Yes.
So we came here together and she, kicked butt finding the real estate and getting all the tours. And we found this one area and, our backyard is like a jungle valley. It's just forest in the backyard. I mean, there's a fence, but it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous view. You wouldn't expect to get a view like that living basically in the city.
No, there's a lot of parts of San Salvador just with the different, topography and elevations where you can get some beautiful views with the volcano, that kind of is always in the background. And so
there's some beautiful parts to live in San Salvador for sure. So we found this place. We got another house on that same block for our headquarters. Okay. And then we just got another house that Michael's going to move into. So we have 3 houses on this block now. And it's really interesting. This development, this street, it's almost all foreigners. We only know of like 3 or 4 Salvadoran families there. It's like Costa Ricans, Colombians, Argentinians, Ecuador. Yeah. Nicaraguans. There's a few Nicaraguans. Yeah, it's been really interesting seeing it. So yeah, there's just like this international little crowd of people there that have come to El Salvador for different reasons. And it's, I think, an added part to the story of like what's happening right now. It's like just seeing this little neighborhood play out.
And was it like as a foreigner coming in to rent, were there challenges as far, I've never rented here, so I don't know as far as like signing a lease, or did they want proof of income, or what was that process like?
So we had actually tried to get a different place, like that first time I started looking at real estate. We're like, oh, this is perfect. It's closer to the school. And it didn't work out because I didn't have the proof of income they wanted. I didn't have all this stuff because I'd been living my life like a hippie for so long.
Yeah.
And so they didn't accept us, which turned out to be a huge blessing, right? But we got really lucky with our landlords. And in fact, all of us on the block, all the house, like the other landlord that we're renting the headquarters from, super cool. She finally agreed to accept Bitcoin. Nice. I'm still working on my landlords, but they're open to it. And so our landlords are like the more international Salvadorans. So they took their vacation in Hamburg, Germany, because the man's family's from there, and she had lived in New Orleans to go to school. So kind of that branch of the culture.
Yeah.
And so they had an American bank account that I'm able to Zelle for the rent. Otherwise, it'd be a nightmare to get that money to them every month because we still don't have a bank. I don't even know if I'm going to get a bank account, to be honest.
It's the banks here are absolutely.
Yeah.
It took me 10 years to get a bank account here, and then once I got it, I used it for one property purchase, and it was such a headache that I should probably check. I think I still have a little bit of money in that account if I haven't closed it yet. But it was such a horrible experience. I was just like, I'm never dealing with the banks again.
Yeah. But no, so I told them, like, look, I don't have the proof of income, but like whatever you need to feel comfortable, like we can do it. I was just kind of smooth talking. And so they asked for like the last 6 months of rent in advance to make sure we weren't going to leave. Some other expats had told me, offer to pay 6 months in advance if you don't have the proof of income.
Yeah.
Just offer to pay it all. And our landlords kind of took that like, wait a minute, they don't want to stay a year. They want to do 6 months, and they want to make sure they get a year of renters in there. So it kind of backfired a little bit because then I'm like having to like find out how to find $20,000 to pay for everything to move in. Not that much, but it was much more than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
But we made it happen, and now they're our friends. They came to our launch party. We hang out with them. It's like a great relationship, really.
No, that's very encouraging to hear, because those are the questions a lot of times people ask, and I'm like, sorry, I don't really know, because I've been here for so long, and I'm sure things have changed, and how that works. Because I know in the past sometimes that was a problem if you didn't have, or they wanted somebody local to like sign for you and basically be your co-signer. But if you're new here, it's who's going to be willing to co-sign for you,
right? Exactly.
And be legally liable if you leave your lease early. So
I think we were fortunate in the sense that they were familiar enough with North American culture to know that, like, all right, this guy will figure it out. He'll pay the rent.
And so have you guys gone through the process of buying vehicles and done all that stuff?
I'm still renting a car, and I think I'm going to keep renting a car, to be honest. And the reason being is because they take care of everything. So if there's a fender bender, that's not even if it is my fault, the car owner will come take care of it, right? And I pay the deductible, and then the situation's over, and I just pay him every month in Bitcoin.
So what is the range that I'm sure it's all over the board, but like what should somebody expect to pay to rent a car, like on long-term basis like that?
Well, I think it would depend on so they basically charge by the amount of seats in the car. Even if the back two seats you have to like fold up and down, that price is $1,100 or $1,200. So it's like I guess a Mitsubishi Outlander or a Ford Explorer that size. We got it down. So we're doing a Nissan Rogue, which are everywhere around here, for $900. So that's about the price you'll find. It's hard to negotiate. Like, hey, if we do this long term, can you cut me a deal? Like, they don't think that way here with business, bulk discounts or things like that.
No, that's one thing people need to get used to. It's like it'd be like one's $1. You're like, well, how much for 10?
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be like
$10.50,
and you're like, wait, what? That's more. But yeah, there's not that like bulk discount mentality at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and for good reason, right? If you look at the recent history of the country, right? But we call it goodwill, right? Is generally you build goodwill with your customers, so then they come back, right? And that's more valuable in the long run than making an extra $20 now. But that lesson hasn't been figured out here. And a little anecdote on that is I was at a big department store. I don't know if I should say the name or not.
Samant's?
No, EPA.
EPA.
And obviously this was back before I realized you could say no to all their KYC. Like, hey, give us everything, give us your proof of income to buy this water filter. So my wife gave all the information. We bought the water filter amongst all these other things. And it turns out they had the code wrong. So they scanned the barcode on this $200, $300 water filter and only charged us like $20 or something like that. I didn't know. The whole bill was extravagant anyway. I'm like, oh yeah, makes sense. We bought half the store. We're just moving in. And so like a week later, I'm sitting in my office and I get a call and it's the store. And they're speaking really fast Spanish. I was like, what? And they're like, $190, $19, blah, 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 blah. You have to come back in and pay. And I was like, wait a minute. You want me to come back to your store to pay you because the price was wrong? They're like, yeah, exactly. And I got a double take, like, wait a minute, you guys messed up and like I have to do it? So I got off the phone and I was really triggered. I was like, wait a minute. First off, did I even understand him right? Because this doesn't make any sense. So I posted about it on Twitter. It went fairly viral. I mean, for my posts, not super viral, but a lot of people responded like, no, don't go back. It's not. Other people like, no, you have to do what's right, blah, blah, blah. And so it was a really interesting discussion, but it all boiled down to the fact of in this country, everyone's so used to taking your phone number, your license, everything when you buy something. even if it's not over $200 sometimes, because the law used to be $200, right? Even
Yeah.
if you're buying groceries. Now it's $25,000, but everyone's still getting the memo. So the Ministerio of Hacienda just released that document, and my wife just showed that at Siemens the other day, and she was like, "Ha!" Because Siemens was the worst. They would deny you purchase if you don't give it, but now you can show that document. Anyway, so I went back in. My wife was sick. I had taken the kids to the beach. I brought the kids in. I had to sit in their customer service line for almost an hour. The kids are fighting. My daughter peed herself. Like, I had to sit in that line for over an hour just so I could tell them, I'm not paying you the difference. You know, take it. Like, here's the filter. I'm not paying you the difference. This is ridiculous. And then at the end, I said, look, I was very calm. And this is on video. It's on my Twitter. I said, look, in Spanish, I just came out of my way. I've spent over an hour already of my time with the kids screaming, it's a hot day, blah, 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 to come help with this problem because I want to be a good person. I don't want someone that's stocking the shelves or whatever to lose their job, right? Because of whatever this issue was, that's obviously not my fault. Maybe you could give me a little gift or something. Maybe you could make it up to me. And so I said that, and I was like, huh? And so at that point, my daughter peed herself, so I had to run to the bathroom, clean up. I come back, and they gave me an umbrella. They're like, this is what we can give you, right? We have this umbrella for you. And so it was like this cheap little umbrella that broke the first time we tried to use it. And to me, that was like the ultimate lesson in they just do business differently here.
But the customer's not always right here. That is definitely an American thing that it's not even like just like a difference in El Salvador. You travel other places in the world and it's very similar too. But in the US, we're just used to like, I mean, just even trying to return something here that's like broken when you bought it is often like a huge headache that it's not even like worthwhile, even if, you know, sometimes you can actually get your money back, but sometimes they just won't. And it's like a whole process. It's So that is something just culturally.
And that's just part of traveling. The lessons you learn. They do things differently. You can't get mad about it. It's just a different place. It's
no, if you get mad, you're going to be just
you're going to have a hard time for a long time.
Yeah. No, I've had my share of just frustrations with, I don't want to go into it, but with like internet, you know, before the only internet was you could have available was on a cell phone and you had to like recharge it every month and they were always like screwing it up and you'd go and they're like, oh, well, it'll be fixed next month. And you're like, no, I need it today.
I had to deal with that today. I was like, my phone wasn't working. The data, nothing was working. I had just paid the bill a few days ago, aprobado and everything. And I had to pay again and now it works again. It's like,
no, there's definitely still, you know, frustrations and challenges, but you know, obviously a lot of amazing things that come with it. But yeah, you do have to kind of like put that like the customer is always right thing out of the. I mean, I have PriceSmart here, which is like Costco in the U.S. We buy these by the caseload for anybody who watches the podcast. They know because we're always drinking them. But the one time I had grabbed, I don't know, we got about like 4 cases of them and we accidentally grabbed one that were like flavored. Same price, same price, no price difference. We get out to the thing and they check your receipt and they're like, oh no, they don't have the flavored one on there. They put it as a, I was like, yeah, it's the same price. Like, they're like, nope. Same thing. An hour. I had to go back and I had to bring the people up and I had to go through this whole process and I was so frustrated. I was just like ready to just like leave the case of stuff. I would have if I would have known it was gonna it was gonna take an hour. But then I just have to remind myself, okay, this is, you know, it's just there's a lot of things I love about here that's so much better than the U.S. And so these little things you gotta kind of let them roll off your back. And because I've seen people here that they can't make that adjustment and they wind up just burning themselves out and not surviving here. Like if you're not gonna be able to release the little things, it's probably not the place for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I relate that to, like, for example, living on the Big Island in Hawaii. You must become one with the elements because some storm or something is always going to come and break something. It's just how it is there. And a lot of people can't handle it. They think they're going to move to Hawaii. They have all this money. I'm going to live in Hawaii like a king. And they can't handle just the fact that they can't control Mother Nature.
Yeah.
They can't control it and they leave. It's very similar lesson to be learned going to live in a country like this. And things are different. You can't control it. Don't hold on to it. Or it's going to be stressful.
So would you say for your wife and kids, the transition has been as easy as it's been for you? Or
I think almost it's been harder for me than them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife, I think she likes speaking Spanish again, even though she says they don't speak real Spanish here. They speak a very different Spanish here.
Which is funny because when I go to Argentina, I cannot
Yeah.
understand them at all. I'm like,
Well, funny thing about Argentina, if you look at videos from as recently as like the mid 90s, like TV shows from Argentina, it sounds like Spanish in Italian.
Yeah.
It sounds like an Italian accent.
Yeah.
And that's how they spoke. And then I think because of just modernization, globalization, now it sounds much more.
but there's still some of that there.
Well,
'cause
there's the
that-
je
yeah,
instead of the
I'm
ye.
like-
Voy a la playa, yo instead of yo. And I still speak like that just because I kind of like that. But here they don't do that. And sometimes they don't understand my wife. And she's like, ah. And then certain terms they use that it's really funny here that like, if I say something to you and you don't hear or whatever, you don't say que, like what? You say hola, like hello. It's like, well, we're not on the phone. That's a really interesting little Spanish anecdote.
Or
here.
mande?
Yeah. But yeah, it's been good for her in that regard, I think, to come to another Latin country. We're closer to her family to come visit, which has been a big deal. Living in Hawaii is so far away and expensive for someone in Argentina to come visit. And like I mentioned earlier, the community feel in our neighborhood. Like the first month was kind of rough because no one was moved in yet but us. Like we were the only ones on the street.
Oh, so it was a new
It's
new
brand new.
neighborhood.
We're the
Okay.
first people in this house.
Okay.
They're building a
that
whole
makes
city.
sense. That makes sense that there's a lot of foreigners living
Yeah.
there because if it's all brand new.
Yeah, and they're building like a whole city back there. There's like 2 little housing developments like where we are. Then you drive a little bit further down the road, and there's 2 big
What part of the city is it?
It's in Nuevo Cuscatlan.
Okay.
I don't want to mention the
Yeah.
development,
No,
but
no.
yeah, I'll tell you after. But yeah, there's apartment buildings, and they're building bigger houses on this hill, and it's all past just one security caseta, and then they're building the whole city. It's crazy, and I think this is just happening everywhere. Or I imagine it is.
I think I know what you're talking about. Is there? There's usually not even a guard in that shack there, is there?
There's a guard to come in.
Is there?
There's
Okay.
other shacks that aren't like occupied yet
Okay.
with guards, but yeah, there are guards.
Okay.
They're not very strict because I'll come in on an Uber and go, I live in that house. Okay. And that's another story too about the security. Like they take it all so seriously, but none of it matters. Like everywhere I go now, if we're going to San Blas to the beach clubhouse or we're going somewhere to visit, they ask for your ID, right? I go, I don't have it. Like, oh, you don't? Like, no. Okay, well, what's your name? Jordan. What's your like passport number? I don't have a Dewey. What's your passport number? Oh, A12345 6. I go, really? Like, yeah, that's how they do that. Okay, come on in. And it's the same thing at the department stores. Just give them whatever. So they have all these like rules that aren't actually rules.
Yeah.
And so same with our like security places. They want you to call them to tell them someone's coming. I'm like, no, I want you to call me. You know, because anyone can call you and say, oh, I'm coming to visit Jordan. And they're, coming for nefarious reasons. Like, so all just really interesting stuff. And as it's been put on some of our Twitter threads, it's like the transition from a low trust society to a higher trust society. These are just the growing pains.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody that was getting plans done for the house, and they're, part of it, they like had razor wire around the whole thing. And the guy's like, why would I want to put razor wire? It's ugly.
Yeah.
And the architect's just like, well, we just have always done that. Like there's a lot of these things that are just habit that, in the past there was a reason to put it, but now that's changed, but they're still in the habit of like doing certain things like that. So,
and the security guards walking around with shotguns.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, interesting.
But
Which
even
doesn't
that,
really-
even that is much less than it was before.
Really?
That's starting
Yeah.
to. I think what you're seeing is a lot of people have kept people on. They didn't want to lay them off, or it was just. But as they quit or something, then they won't replace them. It's kind of those kind of things are kind of slowly going away.
Yeah, which I guess is encouraging.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Definitely.
really interesting because I imagine being here in 5 years from now. I mean, you've been here 20 years, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, do we call it progress, the development, whatever the changes have probably started to accelerate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in
No,
the last few
it's
years.
In the last few years, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the first 15 years I was here, hardly anything changed.
Right.
And I mean, in fact, you'd go through like times where things would feel a little safer and people might be out at night, and then you'd have these spells where things were really bad, and people might not even be out during the day. And so it was kind of, but you never felt like it. Just everybody had this assumption that next year was going to be worse than it is now. It was this sense of just desperation, and everybody's plan was just to try to get out. And so to see that changing, and now people excited, people wanting to return to El Salvador, people building businesses, people investing in their community, people investing in their kids' education, because now there's jobs and a benefit to getting an education. Before, it was hard to encourage kids to continue in school because there was no jobs or any opportunities. And so
now
seeing
it's like
that change.
Each year, people are hopeful it's going to get better now.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of worse.
No, now, I mean, now it's to the point that, I think maybe even people's expectations are running ahead of where things can be, because now, you see the prices people are putting on properties. They think that I'm like, this is not Beverly Hills here, but they have this expectation that like, no, this is the place everybody wants to be. And so, I hope they're not disappointed, because the reality is like progress has to happen in stages, and, you have times that it slows down and speeds up, and it's still going to be a decade-long, process for El Salvador to truly transform itself. And so I hope people are not getting their expectations, of like, hey, no, and next year this country is going to be developed and the challenges we have are no longer going to exist, because it takes time.
Right. It'll be really interesting to see. And just with the example of the security guards and the casetas, it'll be interesting to see what that's like in 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I really don't know what to expect. It's growing on me. I kind of like the idea of, you gotta have a pass to get into the neighborhood. Like, it kind of makes sense, right?
I don't know. I never got used to that. That always drove me crazy, but that's just how I'm wired. So,
well, I almost feel like, and maybe this is irresponsible, but I feel like it's a level of security that then I don't have to really keep in the back of my head, to protect my children or something. Like, well, I know that no rando, for the most part, can just enter my neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So what are the plans with the studio?
With our podcast studio?
Yeah.
Well, we're actually, so we rented out.
Or I know you guys are feeling, still figuring out and trying different things. So I'm just curious as to what is the business plan for the things you guys are doing together. And I don't know if the retreats fall under the Sovereign Studios thing, or that's okay. So what's the long-term vision?
Building El Salvador is like our brand underneath Sovereignty Studios.
Okay.
Sovereignty Studios is the company. One day we'll be kind of like a DAO. Building El Salvador is the retreats. It's the name of our podcast. We use the term build because it's kind of like in the entrepreneur space. Michael and I are really into entrepreneurship because it requires self-development, personal development. It requires learning things. It requires a lot. That kind of just help you become a better human being in general. So Michael and I are really into that. We talk a lot about that. Every Tuesday, Thursday, we live stream it from our little studio in our headquarters.
Nice. What time?
It's right now we're doing 1 o'clock El Salvador time. So 1 p.m. And then on Thursdays, we bridge into a community call. So we have a community on skool.com, skool.com/Sovereignty Studios. And we have this community there where people come in that are interested in El Salvador. They come ask questions. We do a meetup on Friday night, every other Friday night. And we do this community call on Thursday afternoons after the show. So it's just a chance for people to come in and connect. And we use that as a place to be like, to build trust. And maybe you want to come to the retreat, maybe this, that. So our business model, we kind of got our lines spread right now. So we're media partners with Adopting Bitcoin. So we make videos of different organizations and people adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador to help market that conference. We'll be at the conference. We are doing media, pretty sure, we're pretty much confirmed, at the Max and Stacy Invitational, the Open, Max and Stacy Open, what's it called? Their golf tournament.
Yeah.
Invitational, yeah. So we're doing videos with them. So we're kind of like a media and events company in a sense. We do professional media services. We do make content. We're mission focused. We're mission oriented. So we have kind of different pricing tiers based on how aligned you are with our mission. So we want to be available for really good really helpful. Aaron, right? Murph's Life, right?
Mhm.
He would be the lowest on our pricing tier. We want to work with people like that. You're doing awesome stuff. We want to make sure it's affordable. My First Bitcoin, organizations like that that are nonprofits, for example. So people, because there's a lot of stuff like that happening in El Salvador that just doesn't have a budget, but they've got the work power, they got the manpower. So and then there's bigger organizations. They do have a budget, things like that. We use those as an opportunity to like, hey, let's make some money, let's pay the team, let's stay sustainable here. And the retreats they might become our main thing. We really discovered a lot in that first retreat. We really realized how important this kind of is for people, because we didn't realize at the time that all the people coming, first off, are all share this ethos, which most Bitcoiners do, but also just this like, how can I take control of my life, take agency, take responsibility. Everyone shared that, and that naturally made the retreat a very introspective and like a personal journey for people, which we didn't intend. We were trying to be kind of surface level, like here's El Salvador, woohoo, here's a fun party. Well, it was really a personal journey for a lot of people. It was really like a deep thing. We thought, cool, that could be something
I'm
to
sure
lean into.
people made lifelong friends during that week. These people that they'll probably do stuff with later in life and keep in contact with.
Exactly. And so that community building was really, really awesome. And that contributes to our bigger vision, which is to one day have actual plot of land, build houses, do a little village type of thing with people that, that vibe with that mission. So the retreats, we're thinking about doing kind of mastermind versions where we focus on one topic, and then doing the more broad Build in El Salvador retreats, which like, oh, bring your family, come. We're looking at a place up in the mountains where you see all the volcanoes and it's like beautiful nature. And there's so much to El Salvador, even though it's such a small country. So there's so many different experiences that can be had. And
it's crazy. Within like an hour, you can be in a totally different environment.
Different climate. Yeah, everything. And so we're still learning, and we're a small team, right? But we do want to scale it so we can, maybe not everyone wants to move to El Salvador, but it's really inspiring to come check it out. And that's kind of where we want to fall, is just be the guys that you come and you get to have a great time with great people. You get to learn, you get to, we have workshops. We got a little workbook we're working on. So it has everything you need to figure out how to get your NIT, your residency, this, that, renting cars, all these questions. And go back home, maybe thinking of making your plan B, or just carrying that with you, that hope with you to your community, because it's not like the United States is beyond hope. Unlike that, there's still a lot of possibility and potential for good to happen and for trends to be reversed. And if enough people take responsibility to do that localized in their communities in a decentralized fashion, we could see some really positive change really fast. So we're starting to see it more as like, this is a really good foundation for encouraging social change on a different level, just towards thinking like a more sovereign individual.
What is something that you will change about the retreats? And I'm just curious too, at the pricing level that you guys priced it at, did you feel like that was something that's sustainable going forward, or was it more expensive than you thought?
We have not made any money yet.
Yeah.
As Sovereignty Studios. So we did not make any money on that retreat. We spent money.
Yeah.
And part of that is because we threw a pretty awesome launch party in the middle of it. It was supposed to just be a networking event, but then Max and Stacy wanted to come, and these people wanted to come, and we're like, you know what? Let's just go party. Let's have some fun. And we threw a really big party, and it cost money. But the whole retreat overall, it was underpriced. And everyone told us that after, but that was our goal. Like, hey,
when you're starting out, you have to, and you don't know what everything's gonna. But you take those lessons, and then
we weren't planning on making money. We thought if we
can break even,
we'll be lucky.
Win. Yeah.
And this is something I could have mentioned earlier too. Like when working with people in El Salvador, I've noticed we haven't been trying to like pinch pennies, like skimp out on anything. We pay you your price, even if we never want to work with you again. We're not going to try to like haggle our way down. And people, I think, respect that. Here's your price. Like, we're not trying to save money. And everyone's like, okay, well, maybe we can do this differently. Like, no, let's just do it the way it needs to be done, so it can be a good experience for the guests. It could be a good time. And the price is the price. Like, we're not going to concern ourselves so much with that. Obviously, we're not looking at like extra $5,000 here and there, maybe an extra $50 here and there. So we didn't make any money. We didn't plan on it, but we got great content and media out of it. People were stoked. We got great feedback on how we could make it better. it was just a great first run. And so now we're applying that feedback to making the second one better. The price is higher, but it's probably closer to what the price should be for the experience you're getting. I mean, this is a white glove retreat. We pick you up from the airport. We take you back to the airport. Every single meal is covered. You know, we go out to restaurants, whatever you want, we pay for it. Like we really made this a good time for people.
Well, I like the one guy in the video. He's like, we were white gloved.
Yeah,
we were white gloved. I was like, I've never heard that used as a verb before, but I like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's just kind of part of the offer too. Is like, imagine you want to come to El Salvador. Think of all the planning that it would be required just to do what we did, even if you're just 2 people. You know, learn about the lake, learn about Lago Coatepeque, and then find a place to stay, and then find, you know, not many restaurants are very good over there.
Yeah.
You know, we know the one really good restaurant, and we're friends with the owner. Like, we're gonna go there, and so you have a great meal before we go.
Well, and then you just can't replicate the value that comes in from having all the community together. That social aspect of it.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when's the next retreat?
November 10th through the 14th.
Oh, wow. So that's soon.
Well,
Awesome.
not as soon as the first retreat was when we first announced that.
Yeah,
We actually we're all like all relaxed. We have way more time to do this now.
Okay, so that's right before Adopting Bitcoin.
Yep, Adopting Bitcoin's the 15th and 16th. And so we've made it available. So if you're someone coming to Adopting Bitcoin and you're interested in El Salvador, hey, come a few days early. You get to see El Salvador. And then you check out the day before, you go to your hotel for the conference, and the next day you check into the conference, and boom. So yeah, we were thinking of like trying to really hone in on the Bitcoiner audience and like get a bunch of Bitcoiners to come speak. We thought, you know, let's keep the net wide for now. It seems to be working, and a lot of people still that aren't Bitcoiners want to learn more about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So great byproduct of it.
Awesome. So, folks, you heard it here again. You can go to your guys' website or Twitter. What's the best place for people to sign up?
sovereigntystudios.com/retreat. Just go to sovereigntystudios.com. There's a button, the Build in El Salvador Kickstart. You can click that. You can learn about it. You can book a call with us. We don't just accept payment and registration. We want to meet you.
Yeah.
We want to talk to you first, make sure you're a good fit. That's really important to us as well, this vetting process. So it's not just a bunch of random people. I mean, it is a bunch of random people, but
but you want to make sure their expectations are going to be fulfilled too.
We want to make sure you're a good fit. Your personality is a good fit. Like we definitely had a few calls last time where that person didn't end up coming, and we're glad we had that call instead of just allowed it to be paid for right then and there. So there is a process, a filtering process, if you will. But yeah, sovereigntystudios.com/retreat. You can follow us on Twitter, Sov Studios. We talk a lot about it. We have tons of content we're putting out about it. And it's going to be a great time. We're really excited. We have way more time to prepare this time. And so.
And then if they want video services, same site?
Yeah.
Obviously not the /retreat.
Yeah, if you're in El Salvador and you're looking for premium media services, I would definitely get a hold of Sovereignty Studios. We're probably your people. And like I mentioned earlier, we work with you on price depending on the status of your organization. But we love telling stories. You know, we're storytellers. I thought, at least me and Matt, our producer, like first and foremost, we love to tell stories. So,
and then you guys have a podcast that comes out.
Yeah, the Build in El Salvador podcast. You can search for that on any podcast app. Build in El Salvador with Sovereignty Studios, and that's every Tuesday, Thursday. And then we post a lot of our, like we went with Max Kaiser to Hodel House, and we made like a 30-minute vlog from it. But it's basically him and Michael on the golf cart talking the whole time. But anyway, that's on the podcast. So a lot of the longer form content we make for our YouTube channel, we also put as the podcast because it works fine as audio.
And is the YouTube channel Sovereignty Studios?
Sovereignty Studios. Okay. Yeah. We're making so much content, and
so awesome.
We'll figure out where it leads.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just doing what we love. It's really important for us. Like, why would you pack up and move your whole life to a new place? And I mean, there's probably plenty of reasons, but do what you love.
Yeah.
No,
I can tell you guys better. You guys have the passion and the excitement, and it's exciting too. You're in that, your mid-30s. That's an exciting time to be building and doing stuff. When you get old like me, you get a little more tired. And
Yeah.
but no, I love seeing the fire you guys have and pushing forward. Is there anything we didn't cover?
Well, no, I have something to follow up with what you just said, though.
Okay.
The one thing we realized with throwing these retreats is how it adds that extra layer of fulfillment. So you can be in a podcast studio, you can have guests, but when you're really spending quality time with a group of people over the course of 4 days, it's just really fulfilling. It's really enriching, but it like adds that element that I think we've kind of forgotten about as humans, is like we're meant to be in community, we're meant to connect with one another and share. And when you're making content all day, which we are, and you're on the computer and then you're just talking about it all the time, you know, it's been a really good release. Like, oh yeah, this is our why. You know, it's to remember our why, and that is human connection. Let's connect better. Let's connect more wholesomely, and let's see the world change thanks to that.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good note to
yeah,
leave
right?
on.
That's why I said it. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
We'll have to do a follow-up after adopting Bitcoin and hear how conference number 2 goes.
Yeah, for sure.